Hello there. Welcome to Ben and Barry on Football. My name is Barry Sterling Mitchell, and I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. My compadre in crime is,
I'm Ben Dickerson.
that's it. It's Ben Dickerson, eh? Good stuff. Great stuff. Just Ben Dickerson. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, which we use as a basis.
Read, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You threw me right off there. And you did that on purpose.
Not really.
So I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings that we use as a basis for this, which is the top 5 show. And because we provide more value than other shows, for our top 5 show, we're going to show you the top 10. Hey, yes, we are. As a matter of fact, there are 4 areas that we cover. One is going to be net points. The Sterling Net Point Power Ranking is the objective way to rank teams based on their net points. That's points for, which we will also get into, and points against. That difference is your net points, and that's how we rank it. So you'll see a little bit more, and it'll make a little bit more sense. We've been doing this now. I started doing this about 4 years ago, and we started I started a Facebook page a couple years ago, and then Ben and I decided to do this show and base that on that information because it's good foundational information. And then you can add on what it is that you know, your personal additions, injuries, things you might have for inside knowledge if you're looking at a game and trying to figure out what's going to happen. And that's part of the fun of it. So before we get started, Ben, anything else you want to say?
In reference to using net point power rankings in how you watch football, maybe how you bet with your friends on football, maybe how you do
Betting
your
is
office
legal now.
pool. Yeah, maybe how you do your office pool, whatever you might use with the power rankings and your additional knowledge. It also comes in handy for fantasy football if you're into that. Sometimes in fantasy football, my number one rule in fantasy football is always play your studs. But sometimes you have a week that comes along where you're not exactly sure who to play at a certain position, depending on who you have on your roster. What comes into play at that point is the matchup. Who are they playing? How does that team's defense look? Are they good against the run? Are they good against the pass? Those things are important. The net point power rankings may help you with that also. So we're full purpose, full service.
Awesome. Yeah, my thing is Madden. I'm all about Madden, and the rankings are they're what's really happening. When you're playing Madden, you might have you'll have different scores and things of that nature, but the concept is the same. Because if you're dominating, that means you're winning by a large margin.
True.
And that's what we're looking at. We're seeing what's the margin. We have teams. If you really look at all 32 teams on any given day on the Sterling Net Point Power Ranks, we'll show you the graph a little later. You'll see that about half the teams are on the positive, half the teams are on the negative. And that's very interesting, especially as you push toward the playoffs and things of that nature. You're going to find that those teams that are in that top 5 to 8, maybe, usually not even getting down to 10, they're going to be in the playoffs. And more than likely, the top 3 to 5 are going to be in the championship.
Yeah, if you compare the net point power rankings top 10 to some of the graphics you might see on, I'll say television instead of just saying the network, but you'll find that our list will compare to their list as far as who's leading the divisions and that infamous who's in the hunt list. As they go down, they'll show division leaders, first 2 teams that are set for the wild card, and then the other teams that are in the hunt, which means that with the few games left to go, they still have a chance to win some games and maybe move ahead and get a wild card spot. I don't think off the top of my head anybody that's in the hunt, so to speak, is threatening to win a division. Only in the NFC East is that still completely up in the air. So
it's interesting that you bring that point up because I was actually looking at one of those charts and I was looking at the in the hunt group.
Yes.
And out of the in the hunt group in the AFC, I think the Colts were the only team that were in the positive net points.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll look at that stuff a little bit more. Let's get started. Let's begin to show you the information that we're talking about. That would be here. I hope I'm doing this right. But yes. Okay. So here's your top 10. NP stands for net points. We'll start at the bottom. My sleeper team.
They're not asleep anymore.
Yeah. They ran all over my 40. I'm a Niner fan. They ran all over my 49ers. Their run game has a good mixture of power and speed.
Yes,
Them guys are kind of fast, and they're kind of big and kind of fast.
Yes.
So, yeah. That's the sleeper team. Pittsburgh with 64 net points, still hanging in there. Just behind Houston, 67 points. One of the reasons I wanted to go down 10 is because you got to figure or question, where are the Patriots in the net point rankings? So they're hanging around. They're in that top 8 with 72 net points. Interesting that the Ravens are a little bit ahead of them. That defense, and let's face it, the surprise of Lamar Jackson.
True. Lamar's helping them win games, and as they've been doing the entire season, they're keeping their scores pretty low.
The Chargers, 91 net points, really putting it up there. Chicago in the top 5 again. That team seems to want to stay in the top 5. And then now we're getting into those teams that have that spread of over 100 points. So that really
super offenses.
Super offenses, yeah. Well, Chicago again. That how many letters is that? 7-letter word, balance. That's
yes. So and balance means a lot. And I will say the Chargers are pretty balanced also, and they make up the top 5.
They make up.
Everybody else below them is coming along, but has an imbalance somewhere. So number 5, very balanced.
Or they're just 4, not very putting balanced. Up the type of points that these other teams are.
You have to do one or the other. You either have to be balanced, or you have to have a super offense. Having a super defense isn't going to help you that much.
Well, the interesting thing is, again, let's look for example.
You got to score points.
Let's look for example at what we'll see as we move forward. I tell you what, as we move forward, we're going to look at points for. Let's see who in this net points thing is in the points for, and who's in the points against. Especially who's in the points against that's in the top 5, because it seems to me that defense is reemerging in the NFL. So we have the Bears at 103, the Chiefs at 117, the Rams at 121, and the Saints. And you know something? The Saints didn't get knocked down that much because they lost, but they didn't get. It wasn't by a big score.
No, it wasn't by a big score, so their differential is not going to change.
Didn't change that much. Let's go to points for. So now you see who's putting up all the big points in the NFL. Well, first of all, Tampa Bay. It's absolutely hilarious that Tampa Bay is in that top 10 in scoring. If there's anything that they can, just like the Chiefs, like those other teams, they can put points on the board.
Absolutely.
And they definitely can put points on the board when they're playing my Niners, because they were stinking up.
They're putting points on everybody.
On pretty much everybody. Now, by the same token, you're not going to see them in the top in terms of defense. But again, the 300 group going from Tampa Bay up to Pittsburgh at 346, Chicago 344, not big spreads, 343, 31. There's your Patriots again, right about the same place. What's that, 7th and 8th place? That's where they was. They were rather. And the Z for the LA Rams means that they clinched a playoff spot, basically. The Saints at 419 tied with the LA Rams, as a matter of fact. So that could be second and third. That could swap back and forth. It just happens that it came up that way. And then the Chiefs at 444. The Chiefs on defense, I don't have to worry about talking about them in the top 10. The Chiefs are 27th in defense right now, based on points given up. Your Saints are not in the top 10. Also,
They're 13th.
They're 13th. That's not too bad, though.
Not too bad.
That's not too bad.
Better balanced than the Chiefs and the Rams.
The Rams, where do we find the Rams at in points against? They're not in the top 10, are they?
No, Chiefs are 27. We're talking about points against.
We're talking about the Rams and points against. LA Rams, they're 19th, right in the middle there. So these teams are really putting up points. The teams, go ahead.
Let me say this, because we started talking about it when we just had the ranking, the power rankings up, and now we're doing the points for. So if you'll notice, the top 3 teams in the net point power rankings overall are the same top 3 teams, just in a little different order, in points for. Okay? And we said you either have to have balance. Well, I said you either have to have balance or a super offense. So this kind of bears that out. And if I were to ask the general public, of those top 3 teams that I'm calling super offenses, who has the best defense, I think most people would probably say the best performing defense. I think most people would probably say the Saints. And that bears.
You're saying that you think that
of
the
those
Saints
3, yes, of the top 3
is performing right now
better than the Rams and the
defense?
Chiefs.
I didn't say Chiefs. That's a whole nother. But I just said where their defense. But you're saying you think the Saints defense is doing better than the Rams?
Yes, absolutely.
Okie that's interesting. Well, on a points against basis, the Rams are 19th and the Saints are 13th. So the points bear you out. Sometimes even when I want to argue on points. Points against. Now this is a whole new group of people. Except Seattle, the Patriots, Chargers, Chicago, and the Ravens.
And, well, the Ravens were not. Were the Ravens in the top? Yeah, they were. They were the Ravens in the top 10 overall. That's true. So we can name them also. But this is kind of what I meant by if you have a super offense and a pretty balanced defense, you will prevail over a team that's really defensively strong but doesn't score a lot of points. Like the Ravens, even though they're number 1 at points against, they're number 6 overall. Offensively, they're still a little bit challenged. They've had to basically change their whole doggone offense in midstream because of the quarterback situation.
Ravens ranked 13th in points scored with 297.
Right.
But that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
That's not bad. If you can be 13th, I think, and this is funny. I kind of look at this as, you remember one of the physicists, I think 1800s, 1900s, whatever, said if I had a lever long enough, I could move the world.
I think I remember saying that. It sounds like something I heard in science class in 8th grade.
So some of these teams now, when you think about the number line, because that's really where you get the differentials from, they're scoring, they're winning. So that means that things are balancing out to a win in terms of that. If winning is, but they're so far out on this one side, on the scoring side, and they're so far out on this side that it's just a long line. And it's balancing out relative to they're still winning. They might be 23rd, 24th in defense, but they're making it up,
on the
offensive side. And the offense is that strong. I mean, these are super offense.
Right, but if you reverse those and put the strong defense over here and the not so strong offense over here and the lever is really long, you won't see that team in the top of the net point power rankings.
It's really difficult. I think the closest team to having like a top defense and not a top offense for a while was Chicago, I think.
I don't know. Trubisky got off to a pretty good start.
It was one of these
They
things
haven't
I do
been blowing
remember
people out,
that
but
they were pretty high on defense. Maybe it was Dallas. They weren't scoring a lot of points early on.
Dallas.
Yeah,
Exactly.
maybe
It
it was
was
Dallas.
those doggone Cowboys. You're absolutely right. Yes.
I mean, even in they beat the Saints. What was it?
and guess
They
what?
scored like 10 points or something.
Their offense is starting to come on, and they're number 12 overall.
Right. They had been pretty low on offense in terms of the numbers.
Well, they still kind of are, but
points. Well,
they've
points
been
4 to
playing
24th.
yeah, but they've
So
been
that's
playing better.
there you go. That's what I was talking about. They're
Right.
24th offensively, but they're second defensively.
Right. So
They're
that's
spread.
not going to exactly cut it for the overall rank. But you can see what we're talking about when we talk about that.
Yeah,
So,
that gets them to a number 12.
mhm.
You know, so yeah, it's difficult. Most teams that have that super defense don't have the super offense. It kind of goes one way or the other.
Right.
You know, even last year in the Super Bowl, everybody talks about how many points were scored.
Whew.
You know, so obviously the defenses were not dominating.
Right.
A couple hits there though make the difference in that game.
And some of those hits turned out to be what? What did those hits produce?
Fumbles.
What we going to talk about next? Turnovers.
Turnover differential is the last area that we talk about, and it's becoming more and more important.
Yep.
I do think when I watched the Eagles play the Redskins, that the Redskins went a bit far in attempting to create turnovers when guys are going into the end zone. And instead of tackling the guy, they're reaching for the ball. And I'm like, boy's about to put 6 on you, man. I mean, stop him and let somebody else strip him. But turnover differential is one of the more important because it leads to points. It changes the momentum of games.
Absolutely.
And the teams that can control that. So I'm surprised right now. The Chiefs are in there number 10. But again, that defensive line.
Yes.
Mahomes, he's had more turnovers recently than he had, but he hadn't been turning the ball over much.
No.
So all of these are people are in the positive. Texans, what do you think about that?
I like the Texans. I mean, J.J. Watt and the boys.
They're putting pressure. They're putting pressure on and playing a little bit of coverage. Denver, another defensive team. A lot of these teams you're seeing in the upper rankings of the defense, and it's led because they're winning the turnover battle, taking it away that much more than what they're giving up. Washington, I just talked about them giving up touchdowns, going for turnovers. I guess that mindset might have got them there, but it also is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, they I got to give them a pass with all the injuries, though.
I mean, in terms of wins and losses and all of that.
Well, yeah,
I
that's
didn't
what I'm talking
expect
about,
them to
wins and
win. I'm
losses.
just talking about, when that cornerback's making that decision.
These guys are really conditioned. They yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put my head into. They're so conditioned to try to pull the ball out when they see it and they have a chance to get it, that sometimes I think they forget about where they are on the field. Now that's inexcusable if you ask me. That is inexcusable. So I'm with you on that. But again, they work on that so much because, just like we tell everybody out there, turnovers are so important.
Oh, I've seen.
But there comes a place on the field where, come on, man. If it's a goal line run, you ain't got. The only time you go for the strip then is if you get a pile up. You get a pile up now. Oh yeah,
Everybody's
reach
grabbing
in
for
there.
the ball. I mean, I've seen Seattle. Seattle had one play. It was one of their safety doing the Legion of Boom. Ball's coming down. Boys running toward the end zone, and the best he can do is dive at him.
Right.
He dived at him and he swiped at the ball.
He
Knocked it out.
probably punched it.
Whatever he did, he
Yeah.
got that ball loose right there before he got him across that goal line.
Right.
So I've seen that work, but that was a different situation. Redskins are standing up and just like jugging at the guy like
Instead
this,
of just wrapping him up.
wrapping him and
and
driving
keeping him out
him
of the
away
end zone.
from the end zone.
Yeah.
They're pulling on his arm like
Yeah.
this, like, give me the ball.
Yeah.
And he's at the goal line. He spins off on him and like it wasn't even hard.
I feel you.
It's
Right.
crazy. It's
You're
crazy. Let's talk about the Browns still hanging in there. Browns was #1 most of the season, living off those 5 turnovers from game 1 against the Steelers.
Yeah, it's like they got a big head start on
They
everybody.
got a big head start. Now everybody's passing them up, though. The Seattle and the Rams, and they're with 11 turnover differential, and Chicago in first place. Even with the loss, I mean, did they get some turnovers off of your Giants?
I'm sure they did.
And still lost the game.
I'm pretty sure they did. I can't recall right off the top of my head right now because my head is so full of offensive stuff from fantasy. But I'm sure they did. They were down like 27-10. And then I moved from here to there, and it's 27 up, and they're going into overtime. So something happened.
That was crazy. That was crazy. So this gives you an idea of the overall graphical picture of the Sterling net point power rankings for week 13 of this year on a graph basis. As you can see, half that graph is above the line, and half of it is below the line. Some teams that you might think are, really trying to make a push. For example, if you look right there, you have Green Bay and you got the Eagles right there with their bar just below the line. So they haven't quite gotten back to a net .0 yet. They're still, even though the Eagles won, they're still, net points. So that means they really stank it up, earlier in the season. They weren't getting it done. They're starting to score a little bit of points now. But you can see graphically the lead that the Saints have and how well they played and how that goes on. So that kind of wraps up what we wanted to say. Any last good words?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Everything seems to actually be moving in the right direction. I love the top 10. I think they're all contenders to a different degree. I think the top 5 are your real contenders. Funny thing about the rankings, again, just like last week, there's only one team in the top 5 in every category. Don't sleep on the Chicago Bears. Talking about balance. And also, division. All these teams are leading their divisions also in the top 5. No, except for the Chargers. They're in the same division with the Chiefs, right?
When you look at the NFL rankings for offense and defense, a lot of that is based on yardage.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I was like, yardage don't win you games, especially with turnovers. Because you can drive the length of the field, turn it over at the goal line. Like, 90 yards that just got wiped out.
Yeah.
So it's points. I mean, that's what wins the game.
It absolutely is points.
It's
yardage plays its part. Time of possession plays its part. Field position plays its part. But those things don't really put up points. They contribute to you getting to put up points, but they don't put up points.
Just want to mention quickly, you can find Ben and Barry on Football on Facebook. You can find Ben and Barry on Football on Twitter and on YouTube. And the website is www. Guess what it is? benandbarryonfootball.com. Peace.